Welcome to Stormy Woodworks. My name is Matt. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to turn this pen on a lathe. Stay tuned. First thing you need to do is select your pen kit. Today we're going to be using cartridge bullet click pen off this at Woodcraft. Check out the pieces here. What you want to find is your brass tube. Take your blank and you want to cut it, your blank, just longer than your brass tube. I've already cut this one. Next thing you want to do is mark your center. Bought this little center finder, makes it really easy. And because it's a dark wood, I'm going to use a white colored pencil. A lot of times I'll go all four corners just because the blank may be out of square. Next thing you want to do is drill a center hole. I have a machinist vise, so it makes it a lot easier. I take a little square and I just get so it sits nice and square in there. So now I know when I drill through and come out relatively close to center on the other side. Cinch it down. Line up and drill. Now you do not want to force it. Just let it go at its own pace. Back the drill bit out every little bit to help clear the shavings out of the hole. The other side. And now you have a nice hole. The next thing you want to do is to glue your center tube into your blank. Before you do, take your tube and rough it up with some sandpaper. You don't need to go crazy with it. You just want to knock off a bit of the coating and then rough it up so the glue, or in this case epoxy, has a little bit more of a biting surface. Now I'm using some DevCon Home epoxy, bought it at Home Depot. I think it was like 20 bucks. And a trick that I learned from Jimmy Dressa is just use some tape. Now you have a surface for mixing everything. You don't need a lot. Equal parts of the resin and the hardener. Make sure you thoroughly mix it. And what I like to do is take a little bit and just lightly smear it on the inside. You don't want to put too much in, or when you insert your tube itself will be full of epoxy. And that's just no bueno. Grab your tube. And again, you don't need a whole lot. And insert your tube. I'm going to go just below the surface. And if you have a bunch like this, you can see it's kind of gummed up in there. Just take a dowel and scoop most of it out. After your glue is set and dried, the next step is to ream the ends. As you can see here, there's a nice lump of dried epoxy. And on this side, the tube is down further than the end of the wood here. This mounted here on the drill press is a pen, reamer, and mill. It's part of this Whiteside brand case, or kit I should say. Picked it up at Woodcraft for about $40. And it comes with a bunch of different size reamers for your different pens and whatnot that you turn. And this part here is an end mill. What this does is it flattens your end square to the end of your tube. And also, if you have any glue built up inside the tube from when you're pressing it in, the reamer here will cut it all out. So let's get started. What I'd like to do is lock it in a pair of vice grips or channel locks. Some people would rather use a vise. It's a personal preference. I also set it on a block of wood, that way I can have something for it to sit against. So go down. And you want to go just you start seeing the brass tube. And you flip it over. Now because this side has so much more, this will take a little bit longer. I run it up. Ready to go down, you want to pull up and look. Make sure you don't go too far. If you go a little bit far, I went a little bit further than I needed to, and just shave the end here. It's okay if you shave just a little bit, it's not going to affect anything. Next we'll take it to the lathe. So now over here at the lathe, we take our wood blank we've already reamed and end milled. We're going to attach it to our spindle here. For this pen, you need a series of bushings. We'll slide in here, one on each end. This gives you a stop of how far down you can go. Once you get it to here, you know that it will line up with the parts of your kit. Slide that on. Now these things sometimes come with these little stops. And they slide over, then you cinch it down. But I'm not the biggest fan of these. So what I do is I just use other bushings. Even this one I bought at Home Depot for $1 or $2. I believe it's a 1/4 inch hole. You just use these to space it out so you can get back here to the thread. Put your nut on, tighten it down nice and tight. Bring your tailstock up. Make sure the point is in the little divot. There's a little hole right here that the point of your live center goes into. Lock that down. And because mine likes to pop out, I use a little wooden mallet. Make sure it's good and tight. And you want to bring this just so it's snug. You don't want to force it. Bring the tool rest up. And set your speed. Now I like to go, depending on how big the blank is, either 1250 or 1800. I'm going to go 1800 RPMs for this. Set it. One key thing when you're changing your belts around to different gears, is when you go to tighten this up, you don't want to reef down in it. You just want to go down, put a little pressure, tighten it up. Just be able to move the belt a little bit, back and forth. Otherwise, you'll go through belts very fast. It's always ideal to wear a face shield. Trust me, I've had them blow up, hit me in the face because I didn't feel like wearing it. It hurts. So save yourself the pain, wear a face shield. Fire it up. We'll start off with using this is a rough and gouge. One of the things to always do is make sure whatever tool you're using, it is sharp. The sharper it is, the easier it will cut. Now I'm very close to the ends here. And I'm not doing anything fancy with this pen, it's just going to be a simple, slightly wider in the center, taper to the ends. Now that I'm close, we use a carbide scraper. So these inserts are from Easy Wood Tools. You can find them a lot of places. They run around $15 or so each, but they are worth it in my opinion. A good sharp carbide makes turning with a lathe a pure pleasure. Now that the blank has been turned down to the shape that I want, now it's time to sleep. So you want to move that out of your way. Now I like to bring the speed down to about 800. Now depending on the finish that you're tooling left, kind of dictates how low of a grit you need to start with. Now this isn't too bad. So I'm going to start with probably a 120. I usually just buy sheets, cut it down to size. Just check your work as you go. And from there, I'll move up to about a 220. Now what you can buy at the store, bought this at Woodcraft, by Wood River turning sandpaper kit. It's just rolls of it. So I'll go with a 240 next. I just work my way up through the grit. Dust it off and check. And it looks pretty good to me. Now once your pen has been sanded down, take all your bushings off. Put them back in the package they came from. This way you'll know next time you look for it. This bushing goes to this. Now before putting the finish on, I like to use these little Delrin cones. They're supposed to be a non-stick cone, but CA glue sticks to pretty much everything. But they save on getting glue on all your metal bushings, which is a pain to get rid of. So put those on. My 1,000 spacers. You don't want to get too tight because all you're doing is cramming this inside here. Again, you bring up tailstock. Just till it's snug. You want to drop your speed down. The lowest my lathe will go is 500 RPMs. Make sure it's seated. A little tension. Raise it up. The type of finish we're going to use is just super glue, CA finish. It's a very durable finish that will last a very long time. And to apply it, I just take a paper towel, cut it into little strips, and fold it up. I will warn you now, chances are you will get super glue on your fingers. So if you do not want to get super glue on your finger, I use some loose painter's tape. wrap a little bit around. If you got band-aids laying around, you can probably use those. I've never tried it, but loose painter's tape seems to work for me. Take that. Press this underneath. Just apply it. Now your used pads, set off somewhere in the open. Do not throw them right away into the garbage. Let them dry. Because if you get too many piled up together, due to the chemical reaction, heat is developed. Too much heat, you have a fire. You just wait a couple seconds in between, give it a chance to dry. And after 2 or 3 coats, what I like to use is a little bit accelerator. I got this from a local hobby shop. You can find them hobby shops, wood stores like Woodcraft or Rockler. Shake it up real good. Give it a quick little squirt like so. Just give it a second. It will instantly cure the CA glue. Now, how many coats you put on is kind of up to you. It's your preference. You can stop at 3. You can put 30 on if you want. I usually put on 3 to 5. So that'll be number 4. That's it for a minute. That's number 5. Now while this dries, completely cures, get yourself an old Tupperware container, an old coffee can, something you can put some water on. The best thing to use for these, I have found, is to wet sand them. And I use micro mesh. Great product, gives a beautiful finish. I usually just set that next to it like so. Also, grab an old towel. This is wet, and it's a good idea to wipe between each grit, every other grit. Some people just go through them all. It's up to you. We start. First one. We just work it back and forth. So you can stop it to wipe it off. You can just leave it run. Whichever you feel more comfortable with. And you proceed through all the grids. just like that, your pen blank is now done. So here we are to the final assembly. I've gone ahead and laid the parts out, and I have the instructions I printed off of Woodcraft's website sitting here to help. This is my first time assembling this style of pen, hence the instructions. Now, reading through it, part F, which is here, you got to measure 9/16 of an inch and mark it. So that's what I've gone ahead and done. Now for assembling it, you can buy jigs and special tools. Some people will just take a hammer and beat it together. Other people will use a clamp. What I have found works best is using my drill press. Now what I've done is right here, this is actually a bit for an air hammer that had a nice flat side. So it's an impromptu arbor press. I just put my table all the way down, and I have different blocks of wood, get different heights. And it's always a good idea to have at least one end going into wood. That way, if you push a little bit too hard, you're not just going to crumble all the pieces. The wood provides some give. So, what we'll start by doing, just go right down the directions. This piece and this piece. Put it in here. Just apply light pressure so you know everything's lining up. Just slowly work it down. Don't want to jam it, otherwise you can bend and break things, and then your kit is basically useless. I reckon that's the next piece there. You just go through and repeat. It's nice and seated. One thing to note, when you get these ink refills out of the kits, there's always a little piece of wax or something on the end. Flick that off. So if you go to try to stick it through this hole, it'll get jammed and you're sitting there going, what the hell did I do wrong? That's what it is. What's the next part here? I lost track. There we are. Alright. So we put this through here. And this goes into here like so. Now this is another part of the time when it's good to have blocks of different sizes. So now I can do that. There we go. Now, on this particular style, there is a notch cut out right here that your clip sits into. It's important to line that up before you go and start mashing things together. Now this mark, you only want to press this down till that mark, per instructions. This slides over this. Now, you have a complete pen.